Michael Parkhurst, hopefully you, sir, you sound like you have both hands on the wheel of the car.
Dang, it's that obvious, huh?
Well, I mean, second, you said in our production meeting that you had an appointment at was it 9:45? Is that your appointment, sir?
That's it.
Okay. So, full disclosure, Parky is on his way to play golf on a Friday, and I'm insanely jealous.
Yeah, and just dropped one of the two kids off at camp, and so most of my responsibility is done for a little while.
Okay, so is this an actual enjoyment round of golf that has nothing to do with anything, or is it tied to a particular product?
Uh, I mean, golf's always a little part fun, part business, isn't it? But it's mostly
Yes, it is.
mostly fun.
Yes, it is. There's nothing wrong with fun. So I will not keep you, sir, for an entirety because we course and at least try to look like you're taking practice swings before you get on the first tee. I'm the kind of guy that goes cold turkey, and my golf game kind of warms up around the 13th hole, just on premise, and it's just like you're out there having fun, and that's all that matters. But
I prefer cold turkey as well, John. The more I warm up, the worse I play.
yeah, because you're wasting those shots at the practice room, and you don't have the opportunity to show them out there on the course. I know how this works. I'm right there.
Exactly. I mean, you got a breakfast ball on one anyway, so you just got to hit one of two.
Okay, so breakfast ball. I've heard of mulligans of one mulligan per nine, but I've never heard it referred to as a breakfast ball.
Oh yeah, first tee breakfast ball for sure.
Okay, all right. So how late at night was it for you?
Not late, John. I'm not gonna lie. I was debating whether to stay up and watch the game, and I had gotten ready for bed. Kids actually went to bed early last night, which is a surprise for summer. And I checked online. I was like, all right, let me see what time the game is actually starting. It says 10 o'clock, and I'm like, is this a 10:20 kickoff? What's going on? And I pulled up ESPN just to see if the game had started. It was like 10:05, and it said delay. And I said, well, mine made up. I don't know actually, because I didn't stay up then. That mine was made. I don't know what time it kicked off or why there was a delay, or even if there was a delay, or if ESPN was just wrong. But
Well, I think that
for me.
if they're not and they're not going to recognize the super hyper mega long pregame show, then they're going to say, yeah, it's delayed.
Yeah, true.
All right, so
but I did catch up this morning on it and watched highlights, read about it. So I am informed and obviously thrilled with not only result, but it seems like the flow of the game and the domination and just Mexicans losing their head out on the field and chaos. I mean, you wouldn't want it any other way.
Have you ever been in a chaotic situation like that where like the world is just seemingly collapsing into a black hole of energy? When was the most heated thing that you've ever been a part of?
I can't remember if I've talked about it on the show or not, but when I was playing in Champions League in Denmark, we had kicked the ball out for the other team. We were playing against Shakhtar Donetsk. We kicked the ball out for them, so they had a guy down. And when they went to kick the ball back to us, their striker ran onto the ball, rounded our keeper, and scored. Yeah. While all of us were kind of just standing there like, what are you doing, dude? And so chaos ensued after that. And so that was probably most similar to that, where it was just like, what is going on out here? There's just mayhem everywhere.
Do you get the chance to talk to mentees or younger players about dealing with chaos, dealing with chaotic environments, keeping your head? Do you have those conversations?
Not dealing with melees, because you hope you never see that at a youth level. You hope you don't see it at the I know that we're talking about it's chaos and it's fun to watch, but obviously you don't really want to see those types of melees. But no, not really. We talk about chaos within the game, where it's like, hey, things are going wrong and nothing's going right, and can you survive those moments where you really have to dig in and forget about the game plan for a little bit and forget about playing pretty and whatever, and literally just dig in and survive until you're able to turn the tables a little bit. That type of adversity, yes, but not chaos melee type stuff.
Well, and the reason I ask is just the idea of keeping your, because last
Yeah.
night Weston McKinney looked like he was in a battle royale from the WWF and had to kind of fight his way out of a scrum at the Mexico bench. And then Serginho Dest gets shoved twice, like at the head level, dangerous stuff. He loses his head for the final, and it's all about the repercussion about keeping your head in a heated situation like that. And that was why I wanted to ask about any kind of young impact.
Yeah, totally. And you play against teams that and certain individuals, and there's even guys in MLS that are like this. They just constantly try and get under your skin to provoke you. And we talk about there's always two battles to win in every game, in every individual matchup, right? There's the physical battle and there's the mental battle. And, both are equally as important. And yeah, you have to stay cool in those moments. And, I don't mind Weston's reaction too much because, that's a terrible red card from the Mexican player, and you need to stick up for your teammates. And I don't think that he actually deserved a red card in that moment because he didn't go hands to the face. I didn't at least see anything like that. Like, I thought it was just some pushing, and I was actually surprised he was shown red there. Dest was a different situation that could have been totally avoided. I know that he gets kicked a little bit and there's a little bump, but you brush that off, you laugh it off, kind of like, hey, it's 2-0. You're trying to do this stuff to me. That was a little bit more, hey, in that moment, right? A little bump, he's trying to provoke you, trying to get a red card. You got to just keep running back and laugh it off. Like, yeah, that's all they got today.
And when you look at where Mexico is right now, El Tri is, to say El Tri is a dumpster fire might be offensive to dumpsters.
God, you hate to see it, John, don't you?
Man, it is bad news central down there right now.
It is, and some of it they bring upon themselves of like, I thought they unfairly treated Tata and the staff there early on, right? You dominate qualifying and you qualify for the World Cup, and it's just like nothing's good enough in that respect. And so, tides have changed for sure, right? And there's a young crop of Americans who, don't care about 20 years ago and 10 years ago when Mexico was on top for a long time. They just know the present, and the present is these guys are going out there and working them. And, now it's a case of right now it seems like, hey, we're going to get the better of them most of the time, and they'll win every now and then, where it was the opposite earlier. But, that from our perspective, it's fantastic to see, obviously.
What's it like to hang out with your mentees? Does the national team ever get talked about with your mentees, and what you can do, and if you apply yourself, those kinds of things? And what's it like to talk to younger players and younger talented? The U.S. is kicking out.
Yeah, only with a couple individuals, because we never want to, set that bar too right. high, where you're aiming for the national team when you're still trying to get to college, or play for your high school team or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I think that it gives us all a sense of pride and all something to shoot for, and now you look forward to these games, and for so long the Mexicans and a lot of other nationalities, they would look forward to the game, and smirk and do all these little things, and now it's like, well, if we don't let them get into our heads, then we really have the upper hand, which is a really, really nice feeling to have, right? Where you're going into a game and you're like, it's up to them to beat us, not vice versa. Like, we're on top. And I don't want to say like, hey, it's definitely that way and it's been like that for a while. Like, no, tides are turning. It's still pretty recent that we've kind of got the upper hand, but yeah, I think we're going to enjoy it for as long as we can. And it doesn't seem like it's going to come to an end anytime soon. I mean, this young group of American players that we have are young, talented, hungry, and they're impressive.
And it looks like they're getting their same boss back. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It looks like Greg Berhalter is returning to get a new contract. When that kind of trickled its way through last night, what were your initial thoughts? And now that you've had time,
surprised, honestly. I had heard from somebody that Jesse Marsch was all but done. Like, basically signed, sealed, delivered type thing. So I don't know if they had heard wrong or if something happened at the last minute, and they pivoted.
Pivot.
And in one instance, I'm surprised because of that news, but also because of just the drama and the silliness that was U.S. soccer for a couple months after the World Cup. And I thought they might want to get away from all of that. But I'm not surprised in a total soccer sense. Like, the Gio Reyna and Claudio Reyna story aside, I think Greg would have been back with the national team. I don't think he would have had a hiatus. Like, I think he would have just continued on and been our coach for the next cycle. I think it was only because of this story and debacle that there was this hiatus. But, I am a bit surprised that they went back, following it.
You a 2-cycle guy? Can you live with 2 cycles, or are you a 1 cycle and out kind of a guy?
I can absolutely live with 2 cycles, and I think that there's some benefits to it. I think that anytime you go through something for the first time, and as a coaching staff going to a World Cup is the first time, you learn things, right? Things that you look back on and you said, oh, this worked, this didn't work, I should have done this different. Like, as far as preparation and training and games leading up to the World Cup, and maybe rotation of guys at the World Cup, or, so many different little things where I think that experience can help the U.S. staff be even better prepared for next cycle, and obviously we'll know the lay of the land a little bit better, and being in our home country. But I do think all that stuff helps. So I am for the continuity.
Are you in the parking lot of the golf club?
I sure am. Gosh, John, you are good. You are good. I mean, either that or my headphones are really terrible that you can hear everything.
I didn't hear a car moving, and that was why I stopped. That's why I was asking. I'll just bug you for another couple of minutes.
No
so the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about this is the chant, capital T, capital C. And obviously they started, the Mexican fans started it in the 13th, 14th minute. And it's obviously stuff like that has no place in the game, none at all. But what do you do? Michael Parkhurst is the king of all soccer for a day. What do you do to make sure folks remember that this is something that doesn't happen, should not happen? How do you punish teams for having fans that do this kind of stuff where they run the chant, capital T, capital C? They throw stuff at players, because in the Dest incident, you had folks throwing stuff, plastic bottles, all of that kind of thing, throwing them at players. I don't care who you were throwing it at. I don't care Yaga for choking Dest, or if you're a fan of El Tree for throwing it at Dest for being in the pile. There's no place for it. How do you address, if you were king of soccer, how would you address that stuff?
I think everything comes down to finances, right? You have to punish the federation financially, and then they will enact stricter policies. And I think you do that by making them play closed door games, not giving them any home games. And I know that this wasn't a home game, where they make a ton of money off of it. But, I think that somehow you need to really hurt them financially, and then they will crack down on their own fans, right? Because and from my point of view, that's the only way you're going to get it done. And I think that these fans, if they are true fans of the national team, they want to see their team play. They want to support them. And if they know that it's not accepted, right? I think that when you think of a U.S.-Mexico game, you just expect that chant. You expect the beer being thrown. And that's where we are right now. And so you need to change that expectation where that's not what you expect when you have these two teams play, right? Because you don't expect that when you watch an MLS game. You don't expect if the opposing team is cheering on or celebrating a goal, you don't expect to see anything thrown at them, right? So why do we expect that for a U.S.-Mexico game? Right? Because it's tolerated. And it's tolerated because of money, and because both federations made a ton of money last night.
When it comes to your mentees and younger players, obviously you're going to have parents yelling things. You're going to have fans yelling things they shouldn't, parents yelling things they shouldn't, using words that they shouldn't under any circumstance. When it comes to you and Greg having conversations with younger players, how do you remind them to try to tune it out as best they can, even though you probably can't tune it out 100% of the time? How do you mention to younger players about tuning out all of the stupidity and the noise and all of the degrading things that can be said sometimes?
Yeah. It's easier said than done for sure. And it takes time to get used to that. But I think it comes down to focus, right? And focusing on the game and focusing on the next play. And if you're doing that, right, guys, a lot of professionals, they talk about, like, you hear the crowd noise in the beginning when you're walking out, right? But when the game starts, it's just like it's like white noise, basically. You know that there's noise out there because you can't communicate sometimes with teammates, but you don't hear anything, if that makes sense, right? And so you just learn to tune it out, and you don't hear the good, you don't hear the bad, right? It's just white noise, and that's it takes a little time to get used to, but for sure we try and have kids be looking, if you're going to look for guidance, right, look to the coach, don't look to parent. And we try to have that conversation with parents too, right? Hey, you're not the coach, right? You shouldn't be coaching on the sideline, right? If you want to do that, go be the assistant coach. Otherwise, sit there, cheer on, and be quiet. And I think that's where we run into problems, when kids are constantly looking over at mom and dad to see, are they yelling at me? What are they saying? Are they happy about me? Right? No, look, you look at your coach, you look at your teammates, and they'll let you know how you're doing.
All right, what's the latest with Beyond Goals after the breakfast ball in the 18? What else is going
on? Still following up with Atlanta United players, the released players, they're getting ready for the tournaments this weekend, actually. Playoffs going on this weekend. So we spoke to them early on this week, parents and players, in the evening, and just giving them some advice about not only this tournament, but the off season coming up in the summer, and taking some time away to enjoy life outside of soccer and get away. And then when the time is right, focus back in and get ready for the season. And also do a little reflection, a little gratitude of this past year. I don't think that we do enough of that.
All right, go exit your car, turn off your Bluetooth, go enjoy the 18, my friend, and we'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for hanging out, and thanks for joining us on the road, doing safe interviewing, which we did.